Hi, I'm Alan Dale, and welcome to Gale Force Winds Talent Stream Edition. With me, as always, my good buddy, Jerry Carew. How are you, Jerry?
Oh, Alan, I'm doing great today. I'm looking forward to meeting this young man, Ryan Flanagan.
I can't wait too, Jerry. Talent Streams is all about featuring top talent. So, Ryan, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, guys. I'm Ryan Flanagan. It's great to be here. Glad to be on an episode of this. Pretty much, I'm from Newfoundland, but I spent the past 2 years in Ottawa going to college doing TV broadcasting at Algonquin College, actually. So just getting my education in and coming back to Newfoundland because I want to put it to use here.
What part of Newfoundland are you from, Ryan?
I'm from St. John's, East End of St. John's.
Right in the East End of St. John's. How was the Ottawa experience for you?
Very, very, very different in a lot of ways that I never would have expected. Being from Newfoundland, all anyone talks about here is how horrible the weather is and how we all wished we lived somewhere else with better weather. And moving to Ottawa, that was very exciting. But I learned quickly that it's not that the weather's different, it's that there is no weather. They don't have rain, they don't have wind. There's 1 week at the end of the summer with thunderstorms, and that's it. It snows like 3 times in the winter, and it's just so cold that the snow never melts. But the thing about it is the climate is so shockingly different. It can get to -30 in the winter and like +30 in the summer, which I was not ready to handle. I had a very, very hot and painful and dry summer, which I'm not used to.
So, Ryan, what about the program that you did at Algonquin College was the most exciting for you?
The most exciting for me was it wasn't anything like regular school. Like I've done a bit of university before and I did all school leading up to that. And it's just classrooms, paper, writing, all this. At Algonquin doing the TV broadcasting program, one of my classrooms was a news studio. And we would just go in and have access to all these cameras and a green screen and all sorts of equipment. And it was next to the control room. So I'd have some days where I sit in front of the camera and pretend to be a news anchor. And I'd have other days where I sit at a switchboard and live cut the show and all sorts of things like that. And it was so hands-on compared to what I was used to. And that was great. That was awesome.
It's a great, it's experiential learning, right? You're actually touching the things that you'll be using. What was your class like? How big was the class size and where did they come from?
So that's an interesting question. Most of the people came from Ottawa. I think I was the only interprovincial student, but there was a handful of other international students. But we started out with probably 90 people in my year's program. And the second years at the time had probably about 60. So we had 3 groups of 30. They had 2 groups of 30. Apparently it was normal for about 30 people to drop out after the first year. But unluckily for me and my classmates, the COVID pandemic began during our program. And so that caused a lot more than normal people to drop out. And I finished with probably about 40 people in the program, maybe a bit more. But instead of being in these bigger groups, we were cut down into tiny groups. So at one point, we were only allowed to have 10 people, including the teacher, in the classrooms together. So I had a group of 9 people, and then a couple dropped out. So I had 6 total people in my class, and I wasn't allowed to intermingle with the other ones. And we would have just this small group trying to pull off a news show, which was technically impossible with the amount of roles they wanted us to do. So we ended up doing strange assignments to make up for that. And it got pretty weird at the end.
So, I mean, you must have had to really exercise your kind of interpersonal skills and stuff to kind of make it all work. And not only that, kind of lean into just about everything, I guess, eh?
Yeah, there was absolutely. A lot of like, all right, we're in this together. I need you to do this, and I'm going to do these 2 roles instead of one. And we were all really in it together at the end.
Ryan, I work in digital marketing. I also do some video. I can tell you this, the pandemic has really heightened the interest and the need in video from all aspects, recorded video, streaming video. Tell us a little bit about your experience live streaming.
So normally in second year, there's a course called remote broadcasting where you would go film the school's sports, volleyball and basketball and whatnot. But that was all canceled, like completely canceled. So we had no opportunity to do that. So they replaced it with things like live music events at other places in Ottawa that were close to the public, but mainly live streaming. So I had one assignment that was an esports broadcast where 2 of my classmates were playing a video game, Rocket League, while me and my other classmates were pulling off the show. So instead of being in the studio, live switching and hooking up microphones and, you know, operating the cameras, we were all at our own homes using this program called Stage 10, all connected, linked together, cutting the same, like effectively doing the same things, just in a completely different way. And not only did we do esports, but we did a collaboration with the theater program at the school where they wanted to do a play, but they couldn't go into the school to do a play. So they all sat in their living rooms at their webcams, and I cut between them while they acted, and a bunch of other things like that.
It's funny, you know, COVID has been challenging, but I bet as a student, you really had to hone your ability to pivot and do different things and constantly rearrange the way you were doing business, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. It was a shocking change, and it pretty much landed in between our first year and our second year.
Right.
But the transition was bizarre, and it was quite hard being in Ottawa where I didn't know very many people. Like, I feel like if I were here where all my friends and family were, I would have had an easier time finding things to do and ways to pivot in the program. But it ended up being very hard and very challenging, very stressful.
Tell me this, Ryan, what did you bring to the table as a fellow from the East Coast and to St. John's?
So being from Newfoundland in Ottawa, I did occasionally find myself as the token Newfoundland guy. You know, everybody eventually knew where I was from. And personally, you know, I don't take things too seriously all the time, especially in school. Like, we're given the opportunity to be creative, so I would goof around as much as I could, which I don't mean to represent my whole province, but when you're in the situation, it kind of happens in their eyes anyway. So I always tried my hardest to be the creative guy. And when maybe we were assigned one assignment, I'd be like, yeah, I can meet these requirements, but I'm going to completely change what they're asking to do. And instead of doing a documentary, I'm going to make a mockumentary and things like that.
Yeah, so you brought a little bit of lots of creativity in Newfoundland. Nothing wrong with that. Right, you bring that to the table. That's fantastic. So Ryan, here you are, a brand new. You're credentialed up, ready to go. You're back in Newfoundland. Where do you see the future? What's over the horizon for you?
So for my horizon, it's uncertain right now, but I can have my goals and my plans and see how they pan out. And right now I've got short-term goals, and I've got medium-term goals, and I've got long-term goals. Short term, I want to just get on a TV set and maybe operate the camera or help out and just have a job there, get myself started. You know, all these famous directors were probably bringing someone coffee at the beginning. So that's my short-term goal. And I've got an unpaid internship right now that will help me lead me into some opportunities for that. But midterm, I would love to create TV or entertainment or a movie in Newfoundland creatively, like have creative control over something. I would love to there's so many untold stories here that not even the rest of Canada knows or understands. And I don't want to spoil too many of them because they're my secret ideas that I would do in the future, but I would love to direct or write or just be in control of my own ideas making their way onto the screen. And my long-term goals, you guys know the story of Peter Jackson going to New Zealand for Lord of the Rings and saving their economy. Well, Newfoundland's got a pretty terrible economy. There's a lot of problems with that, but we also happen to be a pretty darn beautiful place. So maybe, I don't know, in 50 years, they'll be shooting Avengers 10 or something, and I can pitch the East Coast Trail and show them Gross Morning and all that and come save the island. That's my long-term dream goal right there.
Right. Jerry, what do you think of that?
Well, I love it, Ryan, you know, and just to let anyone watching this know, you know, I've seen Ryan's skills. We here at Gale Force Winds are going to take Ryan on in what we'll call a gig type infrastructure. We're not ready yet we're in infancy at Gale Force Winds to bring him on full time. But we would love for you, Ryan, to find a full-time gig and then have some time for us on the side. So anyone watching this, I think you really got to have a look at what Ryan has to offer.
Well, I think it's just, it's wonderful, Ryan. You got this great, you're going to start, you're not afraid to start off right at the bottom and work your way to pivoting Newfoundland to be a movie capital of the world. I think that's great, man. It's good to have those big over the horizon visions. People need that, and they really do. And I think you're bringing it to the table. You got a lot of talent. You got a lot of energy. I wish you all the very best. World needs more Ryan Flanagan. Thanks for joining Gale Force Winds Talent Stream Edition.
Thank you for tuning in to Gale Force Winds. That's Gale Force Winds, WINS.com.